Hello all and welcome to my first ever post. Welcome to the Soulshine movement. I am Mr. Soulshine and we're having a Soulshine conversation. So clearly there's a lot of Soulshine going on. I'm so excited to have my friends here with me. This has really come from the conversations we've had over the last year, 2 years, my individual conversations, my group conversations. So we want to share our conversation with you. But before we get to that, make sure you go and like, subscribe, and share this video. You've got to spread the Soulshine all around. So I'm excited. My friends are here. Hey guys, how are you? How's everybody feeling?
Good.
Awesome.
Great. Full of Soulshine.
Full of Soulshine.
Right.
I love it. I love it. I'm excited. So guys, thank you so much for being a part of my very first Soulshine conversation today.
Absolutely. Right.
It's a pleasure.
I'm honored that you're here.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So listen, you know, we've had these conversations over time, and the big thing is that our conversations are very organic, right? So there's not a script. We're not, you know, I didn't necessarily prepare anyone for what's happening. I have a question, and what typically happens at our gatherings is that these questions then lend to a lot more topics or a lot more conversation based on one question. So I'm gonna ask a question, I'm gonna give a little backstory, and we're just gonna jump right in and have a conversation.
All right.
Yeah. How's that feel?
Feels good.
Sounds good? Awesome. So I don't watch a lot of Love and Hip Hop, but I do watch Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. That's the one I like. But I know that there is a young lady from Love and Hip Hop New York. I believe her name is Juju, and she's the girlfriend of Cameron, the rapper. So I had the pleasure of watching her Breakfast Club interview. And so, you know, Juju talked about her and Cameron being together and dating, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever you want to call it, for 10 years. They were together for 10 years as boyfriend and girlfriend. They had some sort of argument, some sort of disagreement, and the relationship ended. And he left. So what struck me is that she said, you know, I thought this man was going to be the father of my children and my husband. So what it made me think about, how long do we wait in relationships? So they were together 10 years but know each other an additional 5, so that's 15 years of knowing this person. And now in a relationship for 10 and then it ends. So my question today for us is, how long do you wait in a relationship? Is there a time limit? Do you wait 10 years? Do you wait 15 years? Do you wait, I don't know, 7 years, 2 years? How long do you wait before you make a move either to marriage or maybe ask that question about where this relationship is going?
I really don't know. I know that when you were sort of announcing it and talking about their relationship, it made me think about kind of just sort of the relationships that we get into. I don't know if within that 10-year period they broke up and then sort of, you know, got back together, but I think quite often you see that, you know, couples do that. You know, you have some ups and downs, etc. But that moment where you feel like so emotionally drained that, you know, you just can't go on with this person, I think that's probably a good time. And that may happen throughout maybe a year, a couple years. The honeymoon phase typically lasts for, you know, a short amount of time, especially in a 10-year span. So I mean, I don't know that there's a direct, you know, sort of time and anything like that. But when you feel drained enough that, I don't want to say drained enough, but if you feel that you can't, you know, just be supportive and not, you know, sort of practice in this relating with each other, then, you know, it's time. And I think quite often we make the mistake of staying in relationships that really aren't healthy and wholesome and, you know, and really benefit our needs as people, you know. So yeah.
Are you married?
No, no.
Have you ever been married?
No, I haven't.
Has anybody ever been married? Anybody married?
No.
They weren't married either, right? And
They were not married.
Okay, yeah.
Together for 10 years.
Yeah. And I think marriage may be a different level of sort of commitment. You know, and I think, you know, depending on how you look at it, whether it's like, you know, from a religious standpoint, a secular standpoint, whatever, you know, various types of, you know, you're talking about being yoked, right?
Yes.
Or being coupled or being sort of paired with a person. And those things don't necessarily have to mean sort of material or monetary things. Those things to me, you know, could be, you know, sort of equality or equity of idea or values and things like that. And all of that stuff is cool. You know, I'm not going to go on a soapbox and talking about that. I'm just saying, you know, when you feel like, you know, you just can't do it anymore, the relationship, you know, had a downfall. Of course, you want to struggle and do what you need to do and respect the other person, but you can't do it no more. Then it's probably a good time to just go.
But would you say though that any person who's been in a relationship for that long, I don't know that they're thinking at any point that, okay, I'm done with this. It would seem as though these people have been in relationships. They may or may not have actually established, okay, we are actually in a relationship, because you know people don't do that anymore.
That's
so it's like, because we hang out all the time, then now that means we're together. I don't know that that's what that means.
Exactly.
However, when these people are in these ships, I don't know that these people are saying at any point, this is too much for me, or I don't want to be supportive anymore. I don't know that that moment ever happens. I'm wondering if just people get very comfortable as time goes on, and they're so used to hanging out, they're so used to getting off of work and going home and hanging out with bae, and like doing the routine. So they're very comfortable with the familiarity, they're very comfortable with the routine. So it's not necessarily that, because just because a person has been in these ships for long periods of time, it doesn't mean that they've had negative experiences. And so we associate, okay, the fact that you don't want to commit to me for a long-term title means that we obviously have been having bad times over time. So it's not necessarily that they've had bad times. They could have had a whole lot of good times. And let's be honest, if you're Juju and you are with Cameron, you are getting popularity, you are getting money, you're getting a lot of things, you're getting into certain events, you're getting all of these things. So maybe she's acting, she's a beautiful woman.
Yes, and accomplishing her own.
She
has her own. She had just talked about getting her second master. She's into real estate, and so to your point, Cass, she talked about, you know, when they were dating, like he met her at the airport. She worked at the airport. But when they were dating, you know, and Love and Hip Hop approached them, they denied it for a while, and then he said, "I think it's good for your brand." So that was what he said about for her. Like, I think it's good for you to do because it'll help people to really know who you are and grab more attention for you. So as we said, Juju definitely is accomplished in her own right, and her conversation with Cameron was around her doing this for her brand to help her and to gain some exposure as well. But she was, of course, she's got her own accomplishments, accolades, all these things on her own, but she did this, you know, I guess to help her brand. But now here we are still in this 10-year relationship that she felt he was supposed to be her king, her whatever, and it just didn't pan out the way that she thought it would. So, Franco, what do you think?
Well, I've been in my relationship for 9 years now.
Okay.
So it's very similar. And with the whole gay marriage being legalized, of course everyone just started looking at us like, well, what y'all gonna do?
It's not.
Yeah. And I was like, this is worthy of a conversation at least. I mean, it was different when it was like that unattainable prize. They're like, oh, bouquets, doves, all that stuff. And now it's attainable. You're just like, oh, wait.
But we talked about you and I individually have talked about your wedding. Like we've had lots of stories and jokes over the years, but like we talked about
exactly. So that was always something that I felt that I would do, and I mean, you know, for me it was like, oh, you're a grown up, you're an adult, you're with a partner for a long period of time. Why not just do that extra step and just grow together? Of course, that's the idealistic way of looking at it. And now that I'm in a situation similar to what she's going through, it's like where we've grown in a way that I feel that marriage may not be the best idea for us too.
Okay.
And it's kind of frustrating in a way, because it's sort of like all my little childhood dreams of weddings and stuff. Yes, I'm a man. I've had dreams about weddings.
That's okay.
That's clear.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
dream.
Yeah. But I mean, that may not happen, and I have to accept that, and you know, and respect where he's at, because he's considerably older than me. He's 13 years older than me. So his view of marriage is very different and very traditional. I.e., even so traditional, he may even actually see it as man, woman. We're not supposed to do that.
Got it, because that was a question.
You know, he's a little more old school. So
just to make sure, because you said that may not happen for us, and then you saying that you said it as though you want it to happen.
I'm open to it.
So so this is the conversation, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, you've been in a relationship for 9 years with a person that you would like to marry.
Yes.
Why do you keep going? And at what point do you say,
I'm done.
Yeah.
I think I've looked at it as, I'll know when I'm done. And I think I've said this to you when it comes to relationships. It's like, you work at it, you work at it, you work at it, you work at it, because when you commit, and you work at it. And if the whole marriage thing, for me, that's not a deal breaker. That's not the end all.
Because that's always our question.
That's not the deal breaker.
And everyone has
it would be nice, and I'm very practical when I look at marriage. I look at marriage as like, okay, tax breaks, property. Yep. I mean, that's how I see it.
Right. But
despite flowers and all that crap, I mean, despite all that, I still look at it very practically. I'm a practical guy. So, but that's not a deal breaker for me. We've been together for 9 years, and we've been making it work for 9 years, and I'm sure he's at a point if it's not broke, I'll fix it. So even though my peers and friends of mine, have been getting married and all that, and if that's what they want to do, fantastic. I'm there. I'm the one throwing the rice and all that. Let's get this party turned. When are we cutting the cake?
But you know, what's interesting to me is that I think we also should consider that there's some value judgments around just sort of being married. Societal sort of thought, so besides like, the various types of marriages like that are now acceptable and all these sorts of things, that whole concept of marriage, like some people just aren't meant to be married, period.
Yeah.
Right? And to conceptualize that is difficult for some people because it's like this is how life is supposed to be. You become a certain age, something wrong with you, what you doing, what are you not doing, etc. And we just have to realize and just sort of accept that some people aren't supposed to be married. Hence, the scenario that you were talking about, I don't even know these people, I'm a man of a certain age, and I don't watch television and all that stuff. But anyway, to make a long story bearable.
Make that clear, right?
Yeah, right. So to make a long story bearable for me is that, at this point in my life, I'm not with anybody. I'm not looking to get married. I am very happily single. I'm a happy single person.
Exactly.
Yeah. Very happy, And I think folks need to claim their happiness when they're in a space, and it's not a happiness to like, okay, shun those who are in relationship, and if that's what you want to do, then that's fine, But I think we have to really understand, sort of accept that this whole marriage issue, or this whole marriage, I don't want to call it an issue, but this phenomenon of marriage, if you will, in terms of learning and growing about it, that societal thought, it puts pressure on people to think that they ought to fit in a particular category, opposed to, just living and growing and being happy. Those folks, they don't got to be married. We know about the common law thing. We know about, and if another person, vibes with you and, you have good camaraderie and good rapport and relationship and trusting and all that good stuff that goes into whatever a good relationship is, then that's great. You don't necessarily have to be married, So that's just something to consider, I think.
When it's happening,
you had a point you're about to share with us.
Yes, Jack was speaking about how he loved being single and he's happily single. So I'm making a point that before you get into a relationship, how happy are you by yourself before you're with somebody? Because when you share time, energy, space, all these things, it's like you're cohabitating, intermingling with somebody. You're sharing your energy, your life, your person. So how much do you like you before you start to like somebody else? And it's like, what do you know that you want for your life before you say to somebody, before you decide to have a life with somebody? So my question to Juju would be, did you guys have a sit down and a conversation about what you guys would like to have as a life together, as a marriage? When is a time limit for you guys? What are you even discussing as a, estimated time scale, so that way you wouldn't be disappointed about, he's not marrying me now, or he hasn't given me what I want, So I think as anybody, it's really not even sexual, sex-based. It's like, whoever you are, you need to know when it comes to the relationship, knowing you. And that way, you eliminate a lot of frustrations and, disappointment. So
you just got to figure out what you really want in yourself before somebody's coming along to bring that to you.
So what I'm saying is that is also taught, right?
Yeah.
What you want in yourself, even how you're classifying and sort of deeming what self means, so to speak, to you. Like, this is myself. Some people relegate their self to this voice that's inside of their head.
Yeah.
Some people relegate themselves
As
based
God.
on the like sort of things that we learn throughout life. So all that I'm saying is that, and not to say that, you know, I totally agree with what you're saying, but we had to learn those things.
Yeah,
you know,
we had to learn ourselves. I wasn't taught those things by my parents. It was study, get a good job, you know, help us out. And it's also a cultural thing because I'm from the Caribbean, and they expect
Where you from?
Trinidad, as a Trini, around Liz.
Yes, accent.
So we grow up, learn that we have to take care of our parents when we get older.
Right.
So it's like work, 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 work. But oh, by the way, you gotta get married, but don't get married to this person, or they're raised with this and that and the other.
You threw in that Rihanna song on purpose? The work.
No, I can't.
Don't believe
First of all, she's Bayesian out.
that you didn't really tell anyone. Yeah, I think there's, you know, in listening to you, I think there's two things. Well, one, I know, Cass, we had a conversation about that not long ago about the conversations in the beginning. Like, how do you start off? I'm not saying day one you're like, so listen, I'm going to, like, you're going to be married, you're going to, no, but like, what does that conversation look like as you progress? But the other point is that I just wanted to make really quickly is also, you do have to be whole. You know, I am so fortunate that I am very whole within myself. Like, I'm very happy with myself. I'm excited about the things that are going on for me before we can go into anything else. But a lot of people look to their prospective partners to fill them up. You know, they go in halfway. And I'm like, so Sarah's gonna come and fill me right up, and she's like, that's not my job. Like, because she may still be looking to get filled. Like, so there's a whole thing. A lot of times people don't go in whole. They haven't done the work on themselves before they then say, hey, here I am, and then there's all this hurt, there's things, or whatever it may be, some damage, right, that we sometimes need to heal. Before we then put ourselves to someone else. Please.
It was also, she spoke about having kids too.
Yes.
So us as women have a little bit of a timeline. So if you know that, then you need to definitely be having conversations about when you want to have kids, because when you get in your 40s, like Janet Jackson's an anomaly, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's like, you know, so I think that for her to have gone through that is very disheartening, and it's unfortunate for her. But I
might not believe that it's unfortunate.
No.
So I'm not certain if, I don't know the woman like directly, but I think that that's another example of society telling us that you have to be married.
Of course, yeah.
Right? And so
Yeah.
even to say a statement like that, it implies that because she has not gotten married, then she has not obtained this level of self-actualization. And she may be happy. And so,
now hopefully.
But can I chime in for a second?
Please, by all means.
You know what, I think, first I'm going to say my name is Shuaib, right? And I'm happy to be here. Thank you. I appreciate it.
We're happy you're here.
I think that black exploitation and societal norms have poisoned what we would consider to be what marriage is. I think that today with these TV shows, I think that today with the lack of understanding about, you know, what did grandma used to say, what did grandpa used to say. I'm talking about before the destruction of the drugs entering our communities. You know, a lot of us are so dysfunctional that everybody has an opinion, but nobody's sitting on any truth, no facts, and nothing substantial enough that why would I want to make an investment in you? You know, I mean, you know, and no disrespect, but if me personally, I think that marriage it's a business, one.
Absolutely.
And then on top of that, when you're talking to a woman, what happens is I just get uncomfortable when I hear some women or some men pontificate or, you know, want to speak about things that they know nothing about because their mother and father don't practice that. So they seen it on TV. They seen juju, and all of a sudden they, you know, they've created this this theory that's so goddamn sound. And I sit back and I say, damn, You know, I'm looking at a woman, I'm looking at her skin. I'm trying to figure out if she's drinking enough water. I'm also looking at the food that she eats. I'm looking at if she's trying to stick around for a lifetime. I'm looking at the texture of her head. I'm looking at her feet. I'm looking at her mother. I'm looking at her grandmother. I'm trying to figure out the conversations that they really having. I'm looking at different things. I'm not just looking for the poom. You know what I'm saying? And so at the end of the day, is she sexy? She might be sexy in her 20s. She might even have lived through her 30s looking all right. See, but does she have duration in her heart? You know, it just depends on what you're looking for. So me personally, oh, she's attractive. They've been together 10 years. Well, maybe she didn't add up. Maybe he didn't add up. You know what kind of principles did they establish that they wanted to share?
Yeah.
You know?
Clear. I'm sorry.
Oh, clear?
Yeah, I said clearly something happened. You know, I mean, clearly, and again, I don't want to. The conversation with the conversation and video I saw with Juju led me to our original question around like how long do you wait for your person, right? How long do you wait, or is there a time limit for these things? I love your insight into what you're looking for, but I also think that I don't know that there are a lot of men and or women that necessarily have your insight or think about these things because they don't. And again, that's a whole other conversation. But like, I like to go 3 layers into people. Like, I like to talk about mom, dad, whoever. I was very fortunate that I had a beautiful example of love growing up. I had my mom and my dad who were just amazing human beings, right? Not everyone has it. So to your point, they do look to these reality shows, these stars, whoever, not a Juju or Cameron, it could be, I don't know, Beyonce or a housewife or anybody like that for a point of reference. But they haven't necessarily seen it for themselves in their own home or growing up. So now, that's a whole other conversation because they're looking for things that they haven't necessarily seen. Think you're about to say something? I'm sorry.
Yes, just in terms of knowing yourself and knowing what she wanted or knowing what he wanted. We don't know when they got together. So for us to talk about 10 to 15 years, they could have been in their early 20s going into their, late 30s, mid to late 30s. And when you're 20, you might have been coming out of school. Again, she's got 2 masters and things like that. That could have been just the period of time that she was working on herself, working on her accomplishments, getting to the point where she wanted to be where she needed to be. He obviously had a career, again, and someone made the point of they're going out, he was in the limelight, there was a lot of money, a lot of fame, a lot of attention. That lasts for a while. But now are we sitting down and talking about what's the next chapter of our lives? And okay, an argument ensued or whatever it may have been about what we don't know, but it could have been something of the sort of, this isn't going, you're not giving me what I need at this point of our lives.
Yes.
We've done the 10 to 15 years. I'm riding for you for that long. Now when it's time to get down to the nitty gritty, you're still stuck, at year 7.
Because you're not getting any younger.
Right. So at this point, it's time to walk away.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, there was a survey that was done in March of 2015, and it polled about 11,000 people. And it said that on these 11,000 people on average felt that after 6 dates, which they kind of spaced out to could be like maybe 2 or 3 months in, right? After 6 dates, 2 or 3 months, however you want to look at it, when you're in a relationship or when you're dating someone, you then decide at that point that you're going to be exclusive. So from that point, you decide you're going to be exclusive, and then you, start your journey from there. From then on, I guess, as you're in your coupling, then you decide on what your post-checks or check-in time will be. So I guess my first question is to kind of bring us back to, do we agree with that? Do we think that after 6 dates, that's when we decide they're going to be exclusive?
No, because it might...
Everybody's like,
no. Are people actually dating though nowadays?
Yeah, yes,
that's what I was saying.
People are actually dating.
No, but that's what I was saying.
Because lots of people are Netflixing and chilling. Lots of people are, and that's not a date.
That's not dating though.
Yeah, that's not dating.
What's a date?
So dating looks different for a lot of people, but what it's not is Netflix and chilling.
Wait, hold on. Before we go that far, how many people are actually in relationships so that we can be able to take the good advice that you're actually living? healthy relationships.
I
think we're all in relationships.
I'm just saying, I'm talking about healthy relationships that we can be able to count on that, right? Because sometimes I think that we could be able to pontificate on stuff that we don't have any experience with. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I don't know about any experience. I think that a relationship even means something different to different people. Just like you were talking about, you know, the sort of determination of, you know, what dating is. I think quite often in this practice of dating, so to speak, a lot of people aren't upfront in the very beginning to let people know, talking about goals, you're talking about sort of a future trajectory in a sense, right? Something that you set together, which is present, right? But the idea is like, right, but and it sounds like you're focusing on the frequency in terms of how often it's checked, not opposed, you know, to the example. An example that was done. I mean, there are lots of things that are done, like in the workplace, that might be similar because we're all relating to people, whether it's at work generally or in our relationships. But my thing is, and a lot of people aren't being upfront at the very beginning to say, listen, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, I'm in search of X, Y, and Z. You know, they either feel guilt sometimes. It's like, okay, if this date doesn't work out, you know, was it me, la la la, or what, you know. Be upfront. If you are dating or in a dating situation, so to speak, to be, you know, considered to whether you're wooing somebody or whatever, you should be upfront. You know, very upfront. This is who I am. You know, because clearly you don't get that. You know, and then you get into the pool, and this is, I'm speaking from experience, and I'm not with anybody, right?
What's the reason?
So as far as why I'm speaking from experience?
No. Why,
so what I'm saying, so one of my mistakes was that I was not upfront from the very beginning.
Okay.
These days I'm saying, listen, this is who I am, this is where I am. I do not want to be in a relationship, or married, so to speak. I do not want to be married. At this point in my life. I used to create stories about having X, Y, and Z children and having this, you know, this fantasy and blah blah blah. And I think we go through these phases, but where I am right now, this is what I do not want.
Why?
And if you're being upfront with me, right, and saying this is what you do want, then it's not a good coupling. It's not a good coupling. And I think that's not the point. So when you say six, I think 6 is like, that's an enormous amount, you know, because I don't need to say 6 times that this is where I am, blah, 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 you know. So, I don't know, I'm just...
But I think that... Oh, no, please forget.
But I think we need to learn how to respect each other more.
Yes. That is very important, because I think what we're seeing in the decline of the relationships that fall out, people lose respect for each other.
But I got a question for you. So, with relationships of today compared to of yesterday, does roles have a part to play in how you view relationships?
Well, how I view relationships, my parents been married 40 years, still going strong. That doesn't mean that because they don't have conversations and rules and regulations of what each other wants or where they compromise. It's either you do it or I don't do this for you, or you do it or I'll leave. I'm going to leave you one day, I can't stand you, this type of thing. No, but they've been together 40 years because that's all they know.
Again, for the rich dialogue, great insight. I know I picked the right people to come and hang out with me on a Sunday, so really excited. So before we go, I would love for you guys just to introduce yourselves.
For inviting us to this rich dialogue, as well as just the fact that throughout the years you've been so, I'm not following directions, I'm sorry, that's a part of me, learn, right?
Yeah!
No, but just, you know, throughout my life, and since we've known each other, you've always been pouring into people's lives, and I'm glad that, you know, you've reached this height, you know, where you can do it at a different level. So, you know, much blessings, continued blessings to you in this. My name is Jack Drummond. I'm on social media. The old folks use Facebook. That's what I'm on more than likely.
I want to say thank you, you know, and everybody, because I got a chance to learn a little bit about different perspectives here, and I'm very appreciative. And I'm in the city, and I'm actually from New York, and I'm just happy to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Trey.
Well, you know I know you for a long time.
Yeah.
You've seen me growing up since college years, so I've learned a lot from you over the years, and I thank you for helping me in my growth as a woman in life. So thank you for inviting me to this, and
thank you so much for inviting us. It's great to have conversations about these things that happen to us all in our everyday lives, but because we tend to not conversate, we tend to not converse about these things, and so it's great to make sure that we're actually talking about it. So again, I'm Cassandra. Anyone can find me on Instagram. I am Wanderlust Philly. So that's WANDERLUST Philly. You can find all of my everyday things there. For work, I am an aviation logistician. And then when I'm not working and not traveling, then I'm doing a lot of work in the community.
Of course.
I'm Sarah. I've known Damon for a good few years in different phases of life, and thank you again for having me here on this panel discussion, and definitely a conversation of different topics need to be had for us to learn from, grow from, and not be stagnant on.
By day, I am in retail management. By night, I play with a baby pug. So that's what my evenings are. Thank you so much for having me here. It was really interesting to get all of these wonderful people's input on different things and to allow me to just say my piece and my unique view on it. I appreciate that. And I'm on Facebook, Franco Bailey. And thank you.
My name's Deja Gilmore, and I've known David for about 4 years now. Yeah, so definitely love how he pours into his friends, and really happy for this time in your life where you're funding into new things and using your creativity to really let your soul shine. So I'm really excited for you. Me, I am a mother. I have a cool 7-year-old boy, and I'm also in school to be a dental hygienist. So next May, I'll be done. I do other things. For work, I work with sexually and domestic violence victims, sexual and domestic violence victims, and then just do a lot of Gilmore, DEJA, and on Instagram it's just JUST, Deja, DEJA _ no. Alright?
Shout each other out. Thank you guys so much for coming. I can't say enough. And I told them before we started filming that I was going to thank them about 10 million times, and so I'm going to thank you again. I'm truly excited that you guys are here and really excited for what's to come. So I am a retail kid as well. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. As I said, I'm going to thank you 10,000 more times. This truly was a pleasure for me. I am a retail kid by day and doing my Soulshine movement by night and hitching into the day. So I'm really excited that I've had this opportunity to really share something that's been on my heart and share a conversation with you guys. So you can find me on social media at _Mr. Soulshine. That's my Instagram. You can also find me at Mr. Soulshine on Twitter. And you can follow my Facebook page, which is Soulshine Movement, which is also the Soulshine Movement YouTube channel. So again, I thank you guys so much. I'm excited you came for a conversation. We had our first conversation. Thank you guys. Tune in for the next conversation. I'm not going to tell you what the topic is. You got to tune in. Like, share, subscribe.
Do it.
Soulshine Movement.
Soulshine Movement.